Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? All right. Welcome to the bad boy of the Nadar community channel. I'm your host, Pimpy. Let's get into this. So I'm responding to Nadar's video. I think it's interesting when I read comments or, listen to Nadar. It dawns on me all the time. You guys are totally missing the point each and every time. Allow me to walk you through it so you can understand. Let's listen to this video.
Hey guys, Nadar from Middle East. You know what? It's something I love, something I love. It's arguing with Pimpy. He gets on my head. He gets inside of my head, but he doesn't make me mad. He makes me want to get out things of my chest. He makes me
think?
Not angry, because I cannot get angry. But he makes me like, when he watched my video, I'm sure the same thing happened to him, happened to me. Pimpy, all what you're saying now, you like taking Iraq, like Iraq would never do it. Iraq would the collapse. Iraq, the economy are very weak. Iraq economy are very, listen, when I said about when I talk about the other countries, I'm talking about the coronas. And everybody who's been, couple of countries, of course, not been affected because they're very rich and very big. And
you said name one country that wasn't affected by the virus. I just gave you 5 real quick.
Of course, that's going to happen. They have, a lot of things that can hold 5, 6, 7 years with that, but not more than 7 years. Tell you the truth. Now, you know better than me. If it stays like that for 7 years. Now, you take in Iraq, we survived.
Are you talking about dealing with the RONA? Yeah, I think any country that deals with the RONA long term, like 5, 6 years, in shutdown mode, all countries will collapse. Let's be realistic. We were only shut down, 1 year? And a lot of countries were affected by it. So I can only imagine, 5 or 6 years. That's common sense.
You said we almost collapsed, but we didn't collapse. But we survived that moment. We survived that.
Yeah, but that's the point I'm trying to make. See, I like how you pick what I'm saying, and then you make it a whole nother issue. What I was responding to was when people say, there's no way the exchange rate should be this low. They have all this oil, as if having all that oil is the answer to the problems. It's not. There's more than just the oil that Iraq needs to fix. That's the point I was trying to make. So when people are out there going, Iraq has all this oil. I said, if it was that simple, then in 2020, why did their economy almost collapse? And you brought up the whole RONA thing. I get it, but the point I was trying to make is at the end of 2019 going into 2020, this is when the RONA first broke out. So you can't even use that as an excuse. Iraq was on the verge of collapsing. They had to devalue their currency just to protect their butt and keep the country from collapsing. So if the answer was we just have all this oil, then why did they have an economic crisis? That's the point I was making. The whole having a RONA thing is something separate altogether. I was just using that as a point when people say, well, Iraq's exchange rate shouldn't be this low because they got all this oil. This is how you know who knows what they're talking about versus who doesn't, because there are other contributing factors to determining the exchange rate. And that's what I was highlighting.
And you know what, Pimpy? We're coming out from war. We're coming out for the worst thing in our life.
Not just war. Iraq is constantly in conflicts, whether it's an invasion from the United States, whether it's dealing with ISIS, and now you got Iran and Turkey bombing inside of Iraq. So there's constantly conflict, which contributes to an unstable economy. I'm saying why it's not going to RV overnight, it's going to go up in increments. So even after I laid out all my evidence explaining it, people go, Pimpy doesn't think it's going to RV. Pimpy doesn't think it's going to go up in value. I never said that. I never said that at all. I said it's going to go up in increments. I never said it wasn't ever going to go up.
The worst thing in our life, all right? We just start to walk. Not even walk. We just start to grow. We just start to grow slowly. And that thing hit us in 2019. And you said it yourself, almost collapsed, but didn't collapse. And maintain himself as stable.
Yeah, again, you're focusing on the outbreak. Regardless of the reason, whether it's the RONA, whether it's anything else, the fact that Iraq was on the verge of economic collapse, that's what I was highlighting. See how I say, hey, they had a economic crisis. And you're like, well, yeah, because we're locked down and all this other thing. Regardless of the excuse, it doesn't make a difference. What I'm saying to you is people say, well, Iraq has all this oil, therefore the exchange rate should be higher. There's more to determining the exchange rate than just I got a lot of oil. Then I explain why.
Now, when you're talking about, Iraq economy is not very stable, it's not very stable. The only thing destabilized the economy of Iraq, it's the war, man. It's the wars, not war. 1991, in 78, I'm sorry, in 2003. And
all you're doing is making my point. I love how you're trying to make an argument against me by using my points, okay? That's funny. You just said it yourself. The reason why it's disabled is because of all the conflicts. Okay, there's other contributing factors to that as well, but you're making my point. The economy is not stable. I wrote down some other notes. The economy has been facing numerous challenges over the past few decades, which have contributed to the instability. Some of the primary factors include political instability, ongoing conflicts, reliance on oil, and inadequate infrastructures. If you break it down, it says Iraq has faced significant political instability since 2003. The country has struggled to establish a stable government with frequent changes in leadership and power sharing arrangements. The same people are constantly in charge of the government. And we're talking about Maliki's people. They are constantly, all they do is just rotate the positions around. One time, Mahdi is the prime minister, then Maliki is the prime minister, and all they do is stay in power and rotate the positions. That's what they're talking about. There's no frequency in changes in leadership. And we saw that play out in real time when Sadr and Maliki were going head to head after the 2020 election. It took them a whole year to get the government established, and that's because Sadr resigned and all his people resigned, or else we'd still probably be there. This political uncertainty has hindered the development of sound economic policies and has deterred foreign investment. Iraq has been plagued by conflicts that you were just talking about that have caused considerable damage to the country's infrastructure, disrupted trade and commerce, and displaced millions of people. The security situation remains precarious, with terrorism and sectarian tensions continuing to threaten stability. Not to mention that they have neighboring countries that are bombing inside their country. Iraq's economy is heavily reliant on oil revenues. The dependence on a single commodity exposes the country to fluctuations in global oil prices and makes its economy vulnerable to external shocks. When you were trying to compare them to Kuwait, I said there's no comparison, even though Kuwait has the same issue where they rely so much on oil sales to fund their budget. The thing is, the country is set up to protect themselves from that. They have a wealth fund that's invested in a lot of things. So even if the prices go low, they're able to protect their exchange rate because they have other forms of revenue. Iraq's infrastructure is outdated and inadequate, which hinders the growth of its private sector and overall economy. Poor transportation networks, outdated power grids, and inadequate water and sanitation systems have limited the country's potential for development. All these contribute to the stability of the economy.
each time we go back to normal, something happened, a war will come and destroy Iraq.
But you're making my point. You just laid out all these different conflicts are contributing to a disabled economy. That's what I'm talking about.
Right, it's not unstable. The economy was never unstable. People are unstable for us.
He said the economy has never been disabled or unstable. People unstabled it for them. That means it's unstable. I just laid out a lot of reasons why the Iraqi economy is not stable. If you want to prove me wrong on any of the points I make, just lay it out. Show me an article, show me something that says any one of those items on there or all the items on there are wrong. Now, I'm not talking about when you go, well, in the future. No, I'm talking about now. Not in the future, not 10 years from now. I'm talking about now. I'm saying the Iraqi economy is unstable. You're saying, no, it's stable, but people made it unstable. Then it's unstable. I'm talking about right now.
But we never unstable it because Iraq didn't have enough, or people of Iraq didn't do it, or anything like that. Iraq is a very strong country. You know that better. And you know in a couple of years, Iraq is going to be one of the strong, if we continue like that, it will be one of the stronger countries in the world.
If experience has taught us anything over the last 20 years, The fact that they can't get their shit together would tell you they're not going to be one of the strongest countries in the world. You're relying on a whole lot of things to fall into place to make this work. Now, I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying it is possible. But I'm talking about right now. And you're talking about in the future, what, a couple of years, they're going to be the strongest? No, they're not. They have to get an army together, building and training their military so they can stick up for themselves. So that the next time Iran or Turkey bombs something in their country, then they can retaliate by bombing them. But right now, what happens when Iran and Turkey bomb locations within the country? Yeah, they're going to go to the UN and can file a complaint. And why is that? Because they can't respond militarily. Okay, so they're not strong.
But you know what? The countries around, some country around us, they don't want it to be like that. Example, Kuwait. They don't want Iraq to be powerful because they're scared we take over. They're scared we take over Kuwait.
Well, they have reason to be a little afraid, but they're not afraid no more. As a matter of fact, Kuwait has been doing a good job of actually helping Iraq, but they're not afraid. Maybe when Saddam was there, with good reason.
Saudis, they don't want us to be stronger than them.
Saudi is a good example. Okay, Saudi's afraid of everybody.
United States doesn't want to be Iraq to be stronger than them. England doesn't want to be Iraq. So each time Iraq start to walk, not run, start, crawl, learn how to walk, somebody of those countries, including United States and England, come and destroy the country and destroy the economy.
Then the economy is not stable. You're just making my point.
That's what's happening. Iraq is very strong. Iraq survived the worst thing in their life. We survived 3 or 4 wars in the last 50 years. We survived it. And each time we came back, and we came back strong.
Listen to what you're saying. Each time we came back, they can't stay out of conflicts. You're just making my point.
You know what? This time, we're going to come back strong. We're going to come back very strong. Here's the thing. If people leave us alone, we'll come back very strong. And stronger than everybody in the world. And you know that.
Well, we left Saddam Hussein to run things over there in Iraq for, several decades. And you guys had at one time the 3rd best tank division in the world. You were up there for just like a second, except for that entire tank division that Iraq had, we took out in 2 days. So you're not going to be as strong as the United States.
You said, he brings out the other country. When I asked you that question, it was not a question about the other countries. When I said, you know better, Pimpy, you know better than me and than anybody else who's listening to us, who's watching us, Iraq can be one of the strongest countries in the world.
I think the word strong is the issue. You mean economically strong? Well, yeah, then I agree. They have the ability to do it. Anything is possible. I mean, Iraq has a lot of resources, all right? They do. If they can get their crap together just like Kuwait did and follow in the footsteps of Kuwait, then there's no reason for them not to have a strong economy. I agree with that. And as far as being more knowledgeable than your listeners, yeah, that I agree with big time.
When I ask you a question, actually I'm asking you your opinion, not a question, because I know the question.
Well, if you're asking me, that makes it a question. Then I give you my opinion.
I know what's going on in the world. If you talk about conspiracy, I'm worse than you, 10 times worse than you. If you're talking about freedom, I'm 10 times, because I survived all that pressure and all the bullshit, they put on us for me to explode and come out in a country like this. Found one Iraqi, one Arab, one Muslim comes today and talk about things like I do. Nobody does it. You know why? Because all of them scared. All of them scared what's going to happen next when they express themselves, when they come out, when they show they're not scared. So here's the thing, Pimpy. Iraq economy never collapsed by himself. The Iraq economy always stable till somebody else destable it for them.
Somebody else disabled it for them. They have an economy that is not stable. That's my point. That all contributes to the exchange rate as well. So you're making my point, and I understand what you're saying. So I'm not disagreeing with you.
Iraq's economy is one of the best economy in the world.
No, it's not. Not right now. I'll say something like Iraq has an economy that is not stable, It's not very strong. And then people go, yes, it is because they got all this oil. Well, what does the oil got to do with it? It contributes to it, but we're talking about oil sales. You can't just say they got all this oil. You know what I mean? You have to know what you're talking about. Not you, Nadar, but some of your listeners, because it's funny how they say this. So there's other contributing factors. And you go, well, in the future, they're good. That's fine. I agree. In the future, then that's where they'll be. But I'm talking about the now. When people out there creating content keep telling you guys that it's going to RV this week or it's going to RV, in 2 weeks. And I keep saying, no, it's not. And then everybody gets all pissy. And then I go out there and explain to you guys and lay it out in nice, understandable terms why it's not. Then everybody's like, wow, Pimpy's a troll. Pimpy doesn't believe the RV is going to happen. Pimpy, it's like funny, man. In none of my videos did I say those things. None at all. What I'm saying is, in their current position, not where they could be in the future, anything is possible in the future. But what I'm saying to you is, in their current position, these things are what's wrong that need fixed. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let's see here. Pimple is annoying because I give facts and you guys can't stand it. I get it. Or most of you guys don't understand it. That's the sad part. For the most part, I would say about 90% of the people that listen to my videos, they get it. I know they do. I'm talking about those 10% of people who go around saying, yeah, they're going to be just like Kuwait. And then you explain to them why they're not, and they get all pissy. You don't know what you're talking about. Or they got all this oil. Well, it takes more than just oil. And you don't know what you're talking about. Most of the time what happens, I'm talking about what's going on in the present time. And you guys are like, well, in the future. Okay, yeah, I get all that. But what's that got to do with now? Good for you, Nadar. You are right. Iraq should be a powerful entity in the Middle East. Should be. So even this person is saying that they're not. People like Pimpy are keyboard warriors looking at your country through their glasses from their little office and think they know something. You have to live it. And therefore you have a much better view besides it is your country and your culture. What's that got to do with my explanations as to why the exchange rate is where it is today? All the things I speak about when it comes to Iraq are all things that contribute to why the exchange rate hasn't changed. Has nothing to do with his culture or how great his country is or whether it's going to be powerful again. I'm talking about things that contribute to the exchange rate. 100%, brother, you always speak your truth. Pimpster thinks he knows. No, he doesn't think. He knows. I actually show you the receipts. I prove it to you. Bud West always says, I'm a troll. Okay. You do understand what the definition of a troll is. Apparently not, or you wouldn't say I'm a troll. Sounds like you trigger each other. Pimpy blows hot air. What do you know about war, Pimpy? Oh, shitload. What do you mean, what do I know about war? What's that have to do with the exchange rate? I'm talking about why the exchange rate is the way it is. And you guys are asking me what I know about war. Well, before I answer that question, because I know a whole lot about it, what does me knowing about war have anything to do with what I know is the reason why the exchange rate is where it is today? It's just, see, now, Batman here I agree with. Iraq has the potential to be the leader in the Middle East. You want to know why a lot of people, a lot of other countries are afraid of that? Because they remember what Saddam put them through. When Saddam would terrorize everybody and kept everybody's ass in check. All these surrounding countries, he kept them all in check. So they're afraid that if Iraq gets back up there again, then, there's the potential for that to happen. Hi, Nadar. Why do you let Pimpy push your buttons? I listened to his podcast and can't even get through the entire show. Well, maybe that's why you don't understand what I'm talking about, because you're not listening. Because in my opinion, he's an armchair financial guy who is too lazy to do any research. That is fucking classic, man. I'm too lazy to do any research. You can tell she don't listen to my videos because in there, I literally show you the research. That is funny. Anyways, you guys get my point. I'm trying to explain why the exchange rate is where it is, the steps that are needed, the things that Iraq needs to go through in order for them to increase the value of their exchange rate. And then you guys hear part of what I'm explaining, and they go on to this thing about, well, in the future, they have all this oil, and in the future, this is... I'm not talking about the future. I'm talking about now. Not later. I'm talking about now. I already have my opinions about where Iraq's going to be, or else I would never have said they're going to go up in increments. So, I'm talking about now, not in the future. I never said they weren't going to RV. That's what happens. I'm explaining to you guys something. You go, man, Pimpy hates the dinar. He doesn't think it's going to RV. Anyways, that's it for now. I look forward to your comments. I'll catch you later. I am out.